Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an exciting episode of Ball Watching. We have got myself, Jake, and Justin here to break all things US England down for you today. We are really close to that game. We're recording this on Wednesday. We were dropping this on a Wednesday, and we are just 2 days away, almost 48 hours, right on the spot away from matching up against England, the biggest game of these players' lives. And we'll talk a lot more about it and break that down in a couple of segments here. But Justin, this World Cup has been freaking crazy so far. There have been some insane results that no one saw coming.
These past 2 days, especially, Jake.
I know.
About it. What were your thoughts on the Argentina game?
Shocking. I mean, that was their let's just get the 3 points and move on game. That wasn't the game that was supposed to be the challenge for them. It shocked me, but it also makes us look a little bit better because remember everyone freaking around. We were kind of part of that too. Freaking about with the Saudi Arabia tie before coming into the World Cup. Same thing with Japan. And those results look a little bit better now, frankly, because we've seen what Japan did to Germany. We saw what Saudi Arabia did to Argentina. Nothing pretty on the Saudi Arabia side, but they grinded out a result. Like that's impressive. And they took down a favorite. So Argentina's got an uphill battle. I do not envy their situation. Same with Germany. They definitely deserve to win that game, and they should have won that game, but they didn't kill it. And Japan is a good side. We saw that firsthand a couple weeks or months back now, and they're going to cause some problems. And Japan has got to be riding on cloud nine following that. So it's not...
The Argentina game was at 4 a.m. I didn't watch any of it. I just woke up, so they lost. I watched the entire of the Japan-Germany game. Japan was just... Germany couldn't put them away. They had some chances, but Japan just kept subbing in wingers and pushing the ball forward. It was impressive.
They grew into it.
I'm excited.
You cannot give a team like them that type of time and not put them away early because they made you pay for it. And they're a good team. They created some great chances. So kudos to them. Other teams haven't really come forward and claimed their spots. Either France did, obviously England did, but you saw teams like Denmark and Croatia fail to live up to their expectations in the first matches as well. So this is going to be crazy.
As we're recording right now, Spain's up 3-0. They're looking solid, which is not surprising. A lot of historically Spain has been great, but wasn't anyone's favorite. But they are looking good. But let's get into us.
Yes, we are recovering. I hope everything's out of their mindset now, but it's out of my mind that we're over the Wales game now. England is riding high into this fixture as well. Obviously, I think we covered them a little bit in maybe one of our episodes, but England just demolished Iran. But that's not to say that the whole game was just lopsided and they were just wave after wave. They did look really good. I'm not going to lie. But a 6-2 walloping is really a tale of a couple different stories that happened. In the beginning, a little bit more cagey. Iran is a defensive, stout team with some attacking pieces that can really create some chances. Ergo, their 2 goals they grabbed later on in the second half. But England proved in that they're not invulnerable. They definitely have some defensive lapses that we can take advantage of. We just have to be lethal in those chances because we're not going to get a hell of a lot of them. But I mean, they've got to be feeling pretty stoked about that. I know Gareth Southgate, their coach, was not very happy about conceding those 2 goals, but a +4 goal differential, they're feeling optimistic.
Extremely. I mean, and we already talked about the tiebreaker. If it would even come down to that, we have a lot to play still, but they've scored. They're +4 and they've scored 6, which is the second tiebreaker after goal differential. So I saw that you put a stat in here that there was a 0.4% chance that they scored 6 goals from those shots in their attack. So they were extremely effective. And kind of, I will say a part of that, Jake, is that Iran lost their goalie in the 20th minute, I want to say. And he has been known on Twitter as the Josh Allen of soccer. He has the longest soccer throw of 66 yards in the air. So losing him early was tough. They didn't have a goal on him. They put 6 away on 7 shots on the backup. So definitely a tale of 2 different games, almost like you'd say. And then what's going to kind of hurt us a little bit and help them was that they were able to sub some guys off. England was, after going up 4-0, they subbed off Maguire, Sterling, Saka, Mount, Kane, all within 6 minutes between the 70th to 76 minutes. So those guys are going to be a good 30 minutes rested more than the rest of our guys. So that's going to be a little bit tougher for us as well.
The only thing, just the last thing I'll note there is that there could be some injury concerns on the Kane front. I think he was cleared, and I think he will start tomorrow. I'm sorry, not tomorrow, on Friday against us, unfortunately. Harry Maguire may not. And honestly, I would like to have him start because I know he's very error prone, but he seems to be great for the national team.
Yep.
Just some quick notes on England before. We already talked about the U.S. Obviously, a disappointing result, but on paper, okay. To get a point against Wales, I think just the way it happened was disappointing. And the players were, notably frustrated as well with the result. So I hope that they come into this, just really, really moving past that, but wanting to set a good foot forward and come out and really believe that they can get a result here.
And that's
Stats.
the thing. Stats. I was about to say with that, some of the stats is that we subbed 4 of our guys off between the 66th and 75th. So England did the same thing. Problem was we were not winning by 4. Our guys just didn't have the legs. So a couple of my friends that do not know soccer or know soccer have asked me, like, what the hell happened? How can our guys not be ready to play a 90-minute game? I think we'll kind of get into the lineups a little bit later on. But looking at the stats, we had 6 shots with only 1 on goal, being Wales' goal, 59% possession, 15 fouls and 4 yellows. Those yellows we've talked about, that's going to hurt. Looking at England, 13 shots, 7 on goal, putting 6 of those away, 5 different goal scorers, which is impressive, 78% possession and only 9 fouls and 0 yellows. So they're looking good from a lineup and not having to really worry about losing guys going forward from the yellow accumulation as of right now.
And from a head-to-head perspective, we do have some history with this team. We have actually quite a nice history with this team, especially in the World Cup. Generally, I think overall, we've got 2 wins, 8 losses, 1 tie when we've played them in any competition, anytime. But when you look at the World Cup, it's a different story. We've got 1 win, the famous 1950 World Cup, St. Louis and led U.S. men's national team, defeating them. We've talked about that on the pod before, but probably the biggest win ever for our national team to defeat them. And then the famous tie in 2010 in that World Cup when their goalie let one slip through the fingers and go into the net. And I mean, obviously just handed us a lifeline to get that. I remember that game. We were absolutely dominated. So what a gracious gift. I believe his name was it Rob Green? Rob Green. Yes.
That's the gift that I put up on our story right now when we were asking personal questions. It was unreal. Shocking.
So we kind of have their number a little bit in the World Cup, and I hope that continues, and we will need it to continue because this matchup is going to be so different from what we just experienced with Wales.
It's a completely different team. And then we already talked about how we expected Wales to sit in and us to have the majority of possession. I think this is going to be a flip-flop. I think England's going to have the majority of the possession. We're going to be defending a lot. We're going to be the ones trying to do some countering. We're not going to be the ones passing it around and having the majority of possession in the other side of their half. So it's going to be a very different game. It's going to be a different playing style. So everyone that watched the first game, do not expect to see anything similar to what you saw in the Wales game.
No, they're a team that likes to get up, get on the front foot, possess the ball, create chances, and make you pay. And then historically in tournaments that with a lot of significance like this, they park the bus. They get the result they need, like they get the goals, and they get out. They're not going to let you score from there. So kind of a little bit Wales-ish in that approach. For us, it's going to take a totally different thing. We kind of have 2 options here. And I don't know what I prefer at this point. We have the result-oriented option where we just take the pressure. They're going to come in wave after wave for us, and we absorb it. We try to relieve it where we can, and we look to counter on make pressing a big thing for us where we can, on loose balls, on heavy touches from England players. We look and be quick and precise with our passes, and we have to score our opportunities. We have to put them away. This is not a game where those are going to be guaranteed to come back again. So that's going to be crucial for us. And the alternative is we go out and we play free, we play our style, and we go toe to toe. It's a boxing match, and we take turns going at each other. I don't see that happening, frankly, and I hope that if we do that, we still maintain defense and coverage, because we could get countered on just as easily as we can counter them. So those are kind of the thoughts I have going into it. But it's just going to be a totally different game for the eye. So different.
Regardless of what we think our playing style will be. We are going to have to take on so many waves of offense from them. Like I said, with them having 5 different guys score their 6 goals.
Right.
I could hope, and we talked about this, Pulisic's free kicks were not great in the last game.
Oh.
Maybe we can score a set piece goal. Get one of those ones. I mean, we'll get a PK off of us. Can we get something similar? Maybe not a PK, but something outside of the box. One of those free kicks. We have plenty of guys that can take them. So it will be interesting. I think that's probably how we're going to get our goal, unless it's a counter. I don't think we're going to get it through run of play and passing through them. But
right,
Jake, let's get into the starting 11s.
Starting 11s. All right. We're going to, for the visual people that are watching on screen, we are going to flip this over to a lovely, lovely Excel. Who doesn't love that? And look at what we have from a starting 11 perspective, but we'll voice it over as well. So for me, this is what I have in terms of what I think Greg is going to roll out as the starting 11 come game time. Turner, definitely going to start in goal. No, Justin, anything against that? We're good with Turner.
Same with the back 4.
Back line, I think it's going to remain the same with Robinson, Reams, Zimmerman, and Dest. I don't think, despite Zimmerman's mistake, I don't think it's enough to unseat him. I also wouldn't be shocked if Greg might feel like it's enough, or he might want a more athletic presence, because Ream and Zimmerman are kind of similar in athleticism. In England's a lot more athletic than Wales was. So the only other alternative I can see in the back line is on the right side, and that could be Zimmerman being swapped out for like a Carter Vickers. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's more athletic than Zimmerman is, and they're going to be playing him behind us a lot more now. And then Dest, I don't know how his health is or if any issues came there, but I assume he will start. He's also a little bit of a vulnerability, though, in terms of defense, and he'll be doing a lot more defending than he was against Wales. So that's why I have an alternative there, and that would be Scally for me if you want to be more traditional in approach for defensive.
I think I'm still going to keep the starting 4, and I know that Ream and Dest are on yellows. I trust Ream's knowledge and being a veteran and knowing that he can't pick up another one here, otherwise he's out for the Iran game. Dest kind of the same way. I think he can play smart. But we need him to be able to get up and down the field with our right winger, and I'll let you kind of move into our midfield and into our forwards as well.
So I do think, for me, it's a guarantee that the midfield 3 are going to change from how they started against Wales. I obviously some injury concerns we saw with both Musa and McKennie. Adams went the full game, played his heart out. He will do the same thing against England. He is the only guarantee that I see in the midfield 3. Here's who I think Greg will roll out. I do love Weston McKennie. I think his health is just a concern for me. I don't think he looked up to it last game, and I think he is a great, great player. Just we need all of him in this game. We need all of everyone in this game, and I don't think he has that to give at this point physically. So that's why I have Musa here. Obviously, that's barring any other injury concerns that surfaced during that. I know he kind of had some cramping as well. He's going to be he's going to need to be huge for us this game, especially in connecting defense to offense. That transition point, he's going to need to be able to relieve pressure, dribble out of tight pressing from English players, and release, an Aronson, a Pulisic, a Sargent, whoever's going to start up top to start the offense. So, and then finally, you see Reyna. Reyna, we talked about our X factor. He was the mystery man. Why didn't he come in last game? Obviously, health was a concern for him. I think he had some cramping or some picked up a knock in training, and I know he's coming back from injury, so they're being very, very careful with him. But I think Reyna will start probably at the top of that midfield trio to offer much more offensive threat going forward.
I'll agree with you on those 3. I would possibly still put McKennie in just because I know he's on a yellow, maybe put him in the first half. And then if we need a spark plug a little bit more in the second half, which I think we will need, then you put Moose in, let him fly around a little bit. But yeah, I would. Otherwise, yeah, I agree with those 3. Definitely with Reyna. I think Reyna needs to start, and he's going to be exciting.
Yep. Up top, this is the most up for change for me. Pulisic, the only person that I don't think will change for sure. He's going to start in the left wing. He's going to start. He was instrumental in creating that goal. It wasn't an amazing game from him. It was a tough game. He got hit a lot. He got fouled so many times. It's frustrating. That won't change. He's going to have that every single game he plays here. And then striker and right wing. I don't think personally Josh Sargent played himself out of a position because of what that Wales game looked like. I think he was huge in the goal. Other times he was kind of lost, couldn't hold the ball sometimes. I personally think that Greg does go back to him. I know that it's a little bit of a different game, obviously, that we talked about, but I think he will go back to Josh. I don't think he will give Josh too much leash. If he's not seeing what he needs to see out of him, you've got a guy like Haji Wright on the bench that you throw in there, gives a totally different look. to your offensive front line. So I could see that happening as well. On the right, nothing against Tim Weah. Obviously, he scored the goal. Incredible. This game, to me, a guy like Aronson is suited for. He is tenacious. He never tires. He presses, and he plays in England right now against all of these players. Every single player in England plays in the Premier League but one. And he plays against these guys day in, day out. I think he is, if you want experience and someone that's used to the situation, he, to me, becomes that winger for us on the right side.
I have some different takes. This one's a hot one a little bit. I think I would start Haji up top.
Okay.
And it's not for his goal scoring ability. I think it's his size, and I think it would help relieve some pressure that we're going to be getting from England. Josh, like you said, did well to hold the ball up for the goal. Otherwise, he didn't really hold the ball up much at all. And I'm a big St. Louis guy. I love Josh, but I think we need Haji right. He's 6'4", 174. And I know Jesus Ferreira is kind of another option you could possibly have. He's 5'8", 150 pounds. That's not what we need in this game. We're not going to be going. We'll have Aronson. We'll have Weah to get him behind as well. I think you start Haji right, try to get him to hold it up. And I think you keep him on a short leash because then you can put Sargent or Ferreira in there. Right wing, I'm still going with Weah to start. I want him to come at it. And I loved Aronson coming off the bench just because of the amount of energy that he brought in. Maybe he comes in sooner than what he did in this past game to have a little bit more effect on the game. But I think I would go with Haji and Weah. But like you said, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm excited to see what Greg's going to roll out.
I'm too. And like I said, this is my best guess. Could be totally different. Greg is a guy that he has shocked us before, would not be shocked here. And I don't think any of these personnel decisions, frankly, make a huge difference on the game. I think a lot of these guys are a similar caliber of player. It's just going to take stringing together the right passes and putting together the right chemistry to make something happen against a really good side in England. So that's the big roster decisions we have ahead of us. What do we have next year, Justin? We're going to talk a little bit about expectation setting. You're going to walk into Thanksgiving dinner or lunch or whatever time you eat Thanksgiving tomorrow, and people are going to talk World Cup probably a little bit, unless they're not, which I hope they are. And you should bring it up if they're not. And they're going to say, oh, U.S. England, like we're such a big country, we are so good at sports. This should be a win for us. We should compete in this game. This should be a very competitive game. I'm here to tell you that despite everything that we say, we're optimistic. I love the men's national team. I think we're capable of a result here. This is not something that we're expected to get a result from. I mean, look at the books. England is minus 170 to win this game. We are plus 475. Man, if you have a good feeling about the U.S. in this game, hammer that money line because there is some value. There is some money to be made out there. But just going into why, I mean, we talk about what, and I'll tee you up for this, Justin, but depth. England's team is so deep. Most of their second guys that don't play, that are just kind of there for depth, would be some of the best players on our team. They play in the best league in the world, in the Premier League, and we would kill to have a lot of that talent for sure. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, just it's not right now. Greg is also kind of a wild card to me. I think he can be a little bit sporadic in how he approaches games. I know that he came in here wanting to change how the world views American soccer. And this, to me, is his capstone. If you want to show the world that we are different and we're better than we were 4 years ago when we failed to qualify for the World Cup, there is no better stage and no better game than to show that than in this World Cup. And I think he might let them go out and play a little bit more freely because of that, because this is his chance to show that. So that's some of like what I'm kind of picking up on as we're heading into this, because there's a lot of context to consider in this matchup.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think there's really much else for us to touch there. This is a tough game. I know everybody's excited for the U.S. It's going to be the biggest game all time for us, and I'm extremely excited to watch. I'm very optimistic. I will not be putting my hard-earned money on the U.S. money line because I already have money on them to get out of the group. A safer bet, if you want to do a draw no bet, you can bet the U.S. at plus 340. That means if the U.S. ties or if the game is a tie, you get your money back. If they win, you're plus 340. So I think that's a little bit safer than just a straight up money line. That's probably where I would go, but we'll get some bets out there as well. But otherwise, expectations, cautiously optimistic.
Yep. Fair. Justin, do you want to do listener questions before we get into predictions? I think some of it might tie back into there. Yeah. So let's do that.
Absolutely.
So we got some graciously submitted listener questions. Did you want to start us off, Justin, with a couple of these?
Yeah, we won't use last names, but one of our boys that we are friends with, Mike, said favorite moment in a U.S. game in World Cup group stage. What do you have?
It's got to be the 2010 Algeria game for me, with Landon Donovan. The call in that game was incredible as well. Go look it up if you haven't. Just 2010 Algeria U.S. men's national team. Donovan scored a goal, sent us through. It was absolutely electric. Things were looking bleak before that, and that was just one of my favorite memories because I remember watching that. I was at like a club soccer tournament in a hotel room watching with a bunch of players, and it was just an awesome, awesome time to see us jump into the knockout stages.
Yeah, that is by far my favorite as well. A funny one is what we already talked about when Rob Green let the goal in 2010 as well. I think,
Yep.
yeah, but I will say also my new favorite will be Friday, and we went 2-1. So
Yep, I like that. I like that. Space for new memories. How about Geo? Geo was a question we got from the Lou Boys podcast. So shout out to the Lou Boys. How much Geo are we going to see? Obviously, you looked at our starting 11. I think we're going to see a lot of Geo. I think he was, in a way, spared from Wales because he was going to feature so prominently in this game. So I think we're going to see a lot of him in a very competitive go for him. It's going to be tough. Obviously, he hasn't had too much match fitness ahead of recovering from injury and joining us here. But I think this could be a great time for him to just show his capabilities because he's touted as being one of the next big things, especially in American soccer. So I think a lot of Geo. Sargent, I don't know. Obviously, Justin and I had some differences in our takes there. I don't know what's going to happen with Sargent. I don't think he played himself out, but I don't think he played himself really cementing that position either. I think he'll factor in the game, regardless of starting or coming off the bench. He'll be in the game, I think. And then final score, we'll get to that.
Well, we will get to that. I'll agree with you on that. I think Gio, we talked about X factors. I think he's our X factor in this game. Just because we're unsure on injury, we're unsure. We think he'll start. I think he should start. And then just kind of what is he going to bring to the game? We haven't seen a healthy Gio in a while. So he is definitely our X factor. I hope Sargent starts and plays. I just don't know if he will, but we'll see.
We got a question from Adam around some connections between some of the members of both teams on the US and England. And actually, there's a lot. And just to mention a couple, Pulisic playing against his current teammates at Chelsea and Mason Mount, Raheem Sterling, and Conor Gallagher. Mason Mount and Sterling really are guys that are ahead of him on the depth chart, so a lot to prove there. That's probably a chip on his shoulder. Matt Turner starting for the U.S., and his teammate from Arsenal, Aaron Ramsdale, is actually the starter at Arsenal, and Turner is the second in command behind him. Bukayo Saka also plays with Arsenal, and Ben White. So they're all teammates with Matt Turner. On the German side, Reina plays with Jude Bellingham, who is like another one of those guys that just probably going to be a superstar, kind of already is, and plays a focal point in their attack and defense right now for England. So he plays with Jude Bellingham in Germany. The only player that does not play in the Premier League for Germany is Jude. And then finally, not that they play with them currently, but Ream and Robinson are guys that play together at Fulham, which is awesome because they maintain that dynamic here for us. But they play against every one of these players besides Jude Bellingham every single week in, week out for the Premier League. So I'm sure they know these guys. They also know how they play and they know the style. So that makes me happy because we have at least one half of our back four that is just used to playing against these people.
Yeah, I agree. I think moving on to the next one, we got a question from Jeff, and I think it's a great one after watching this game and very relevant now is, can the U.S. or how can the U.S. learn how Japan just beat Germany? And I will say, we kind of talked about that. It might be I would hope it's a very similar game in the sense that there will be waves of attack from England. Germany had 24 shots with 9 of them being on goal, and they only scored 1 goal. I could see that being very similar to us in this game. Yet Japan had 12 shots with 4 on goal. I don't think we're going to have 12 total shots, but 4 on goal, hopefully. And they put 2 away of those 4 on Neuer. So if we can do the same thing, I think that'll be just taking that pressure, releasing on the edges. And then also if you watch that Japan game, they were throwing in subs, and they were not throwing in defenders when they were down 1-1 or 1-0. They weren't even throwing in defenders when they tied it. They were throwing in attackers, throwing in wingers. That's when we can bring in Aronson or Weah, depending who doesn't start, and bringing in Musa if he doesn't start, and Jesus Ferreira. And that's where I hope Greg if we go down, let's switch the mode and let's go toe-to-toe with these guys.
And just in that same fashion, we got another question around, does that upset and other World Cup upsets that are happening around us help us and help the mindset from Scott, an avid listener of ours? Yes, these players are taking note of what's going on. You see a world superpower in Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia, who we just played and we tied, and it was an ugly game. So if I'm them, and I know that they're thinking this, anything's possible. There is nothing that is outside the realm of reality here. There are crazy stories. Croatia made it to the final last World Cup, and they're a tiny country. No one would have said that before. And nothing against them. They're a good team, but not in the World Cup final. So if I'm them, and you know they're thinking this, they know that anything's possible here. And while it's maybe not the most likely, they can get a result, and they should go into that game thinking that. What the last two we have are kind of around roster decisions. Justin, who's a spark plug for the U.S.? Aronson Weah from Ryan, and how will we score against this strong England side from Joey?
I think we've kind of talked about that. We flip-flop on Aronson and Weah. I think Aronson will be a spark plug just like he was, and I think he should get in early, maybe halftime. You were thinking more Weah, start Aronson. Yeah. So I think either way, bringing those fresh legs on will help us tremendously against this team. And then how will we score against England side? I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I'm thinking through a stoppage, either from a free kick, PK, something like that, or a blunder on the England back line where we get a counter and they're not prepared. I don't think it's going to be through the run of play. We're not going to be passing around in their half and pass through them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's and I will take any type of goal. It doesn't need to be pretty. I will take if that ball hits the back of the net, I'll be stoked. I mean, that's already against. And we'll get into our predictions here. But
give me a bullshit PK in the 101st minute, because all of these games are going with 10 plus minutes on stoppage time. I'll take it. Don't care.
And they're vulnerable. Iran scored 2 goals against them. Not that Iran's a bad side either, but Iran, and they made those 2 goals look pretty good. So like they have frailties. They're not this giant that's just never going to concede a goal. They're probably going to score a lot of goals, but they're not this defensively stout, like just masterclass of a team that's never going to allow any sort of chances. We will get chances in this game.
So Jake, what is your prediction on this game?
It's such a hard thing to do, to put this out there. I think that this game is going to play out like we're kind of talking about here, where we total flip-flop of what happened with Wales. We're going to have to sit back and just take wave after wave and look for chances to release the pressure and get outlets on the wings and look to counter where we can. I think we will get on the board against England. My concern is that I know they will also get on the board. And I think if I had to put money on this, I would say that England 3, US 1. I am optimistic that we could do better than that. But if I'm a betting man, they're a really, really strong team. They're going to score multiple goals despite our defensive. We're not bad defensively either. We have great defense, actually, I would say. But it's just going to be a totally different challenge. And I hope that we're up to it. And I hope that I'm wrong. I really do. But that is what I think realistically happens in this game.
I agree with you on the fact of it being a flip-flop of the Wales game. I would say I'll try to get a little bit more specific. I think that England will put one away somewhat early, not in the first 10, maybe not in the first 20, but somewhere right before halftime. And then we're gonna have to make some decisions at halftime, bring on some subs, super subs, bring in Aronson, whoever. And then I think we're gonna grind, and I think we can get one back. Call it like the 75th. I think it could be very, very similar to this Germany-Japan game, honestly. I know a couple of the guys have DM'd us about that. And I think looking at that, I know you said if you're a betting man, Jake, the over-under in the game, if you do over 2.5 goals, it's -120. So looking at like a 2-1 game, yeah. And then specifically, if you go to the U.S. or England specific goals, England over 1.5 is -155. Us over 1.5 is +310. So yeah, I think we're going to get 1 goal here. It'll be a scrappy one. It's not going to be pretty. But I'm going to go out and say we're going to tie this game. And then it'll really come down to Tuesday. Giving us 2 points. 2 points is huge. I think Iran can hang with Wales if they can somehow get a tie out of that. And then we're going into the last day with England only with 4 points. They would need to play for something to get through. We would have 2 and Wales would have 2. And we're playing Iran while Wales is playing England. I feel safe. So 1-1 tie.
And Iran, keep in mind too, Iran-Wales is happening at 4 a.m. on Black Friday. So well ahead of this game.
Yep.
So everyone will know, and the players will know what we kind of have to get out of that game a little bit. I personally think I'm going to be a big Iran fan for that game, obviously. But I think Iran can beat Wales. They did not look good against England. They're going to want to come back. Ideally, we're looking for 1-1. That is what we want. Or 0-0. We want a tie. We don't want anyone to come home with those points because that doesn't help us. But that's the hope. The last thing I'll say on predictions is that this will be the most widely viewed U.S. men's national team game ever in America, ever. The record right now is from the U.S.-Portugal game in 2014 that drew 25.5 million viewers. And I think we should absolutely stomp that record. It's Black Friday. No one's doing anything. If you're working, I'm sorry. But not most people are doing anything. And you have no excuse. Tune into the game, support your country, tune into Fox at 1 p.m. Central. It's going to be insane. Insane.
All right, Jake, let's wrap this up. Give them some hopefully exciting news that we have.
We do have boots in the ground for our fellow watchers out here. Not recurring yet, but soon to be recurring interviews. Jim Kavanaugh and Tom Strunk, both owners of the St. Louis City SC. We are going to be able to touch base with them while they're over in Qatar. And that is probably going to happen after the England-US game, which they will actually be in attendance for. So we're going to get a real perspective from them as to how that game went and just check in on how Qatar's been overall. So that will be coming out in between probably the England-US game and the US-Iran game. So be on the lookout for that. And finally, still sponsored by Series 6, Black Friday coming up here. Shopping is at its peak right now. And Series 6 has a ton of STL-centric gear. If you love your city, buy Series 6 gear. It's a local brand. Sammy Maurer we had on the show. She's running an incredible shop over there. We have tons of gear to our names already, and we're giving some gear away for the World Cup bracket. If you didn't enter, you're missing out because Series 6 is an awesome, awesome shop.
Yeah, I would say get out Series 6. They've got some deals going on for Black Friday. You can always use our code as well, ball watching, all caps. Put it in promo code. You can do it when you're in the store. If not, they also have some deals going on themselves. So get out there and shop, buy stuff for your great Aunt Tammy. Anything you want. Talk about it. Talk about it at your Thanksgiving. Otherwise, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ballwatchingstl. Reach out to us. We appreciate all the questions that we got in a short time right before we recorded this. So happy to interact with you guys.
And a lot of family time coming up. Share this with your family. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Apple and Spotify. It'll be on Amazon podcasts as well. We want the most fans we can behind this game. We want everyone tuned in with the heart pumping and beating for your national team here. So share this around, like it, comment it, DM us your thoughts. Like, we want this to be as big as possible to have as many people tuned in come Black Friday for this game and cheer the boys on. So go USA. I'm stoked. I'm probably going to sprinkle it on the money line because I just have to, and I just want to be a part of that if that happens. But it's going to be insane, and glad we could kind of cover this all for you. But there you go, 30 minutes. All you need to know about the U.S.-England matchup coming up on Black Friday. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful for you all, and we will hear and talk to you again here soon following this game, which is hopefully going to be an exciting one.
Let's go USA.
Thanks all.